What's up, guys? I'm Suman, the CEO and co-founder of Marco. Marco is an experiences company that connects amazing hosts that could be a brand, a person, a creator who have experiences with companies and teams. And today we're joined by Nick, who's the founder of Gnarwhal Coffee. I'm drinking some of that coffee right now, Nick, as we speak. And we want to hear a little bit about you, man. We want to hear about your story. What is Gnarwhal, coffee? Like why pursue that and create this company? But I guess like just to start us off, would love to hear a little bit about yourself, kind of when you started Gnarwhal and just kind of the basics,
Yeah. Well, hello everyone, and hello Suman. Thanks for having us on. I'm super stoked to be here. I have had a blast with Marco thus far, and I gotta say, I've told you this before, but I started out as a bit of a skeptic, and I've been thoroughly impressed by just the level of quality you guys are able to maintain, virtually. I think it's pretty impressive. So kudos to you, and super stoked to be a part of it. I'm Nick Monica. I was born in Simi Valley. I kind of grew up like in the valley of Los Angeles, and then went to school in San Diego, University of San Diego. After that, I had like a pretty boring job in logistics, doing like I did like a leadership program. But what was really cool about it is I had an opportunity to travel, paid. All of my housing was paid for, travel, all of that. So I got to live in like 6 different places throughout the course of my first year out of school.
In the US or across the world?
Both. So I started out like my career in China, in Shanghai, which was unreal. So I spent like three months in Shanghai, some time in Hong Kong, and then came back, and it was basically Minneapolis, Atlanta, Houston, like a short stint in San Francisco, and then back to LA.
Shanghai to Minneapolis, that's quite the culture shock difference. It's funny, our content guy Gabe, who's helping with the podcast, has spent 2 years in Shanghai, so he's here laughing because it's an epic city. But
yeah, it is. It's an incredible city, and it was an incredible experience because before that too, like I had already had the travel bug in college, and my fiance and I, well at the time she's my girlfriend, but we had just done all kinds of like really cool trips, and either with her family or just us two or with my family. So fortunate to have grown up in like a family that like traveled a lot. So it felt really right that like the first year out of school, I had that opportunity. But the most profound part of that is the people I was meeting throughout this like year. And there was a unique part of it where I got to drive in between on the ones that were in the US. They allowed you to drive because you were living in these places for like an extended period of time. So you had like this kind of road trip element to the whole year. And really like that year is what I attribute to the formulation of Gnarwhal. So I had thought of the name, and I had like used the branding for like photography.
Just for non-coffee, you're just using Gnarwhal for...
Yeah. Actually, it was like a total joke. I had an Instagram account called California Gnarwhal, and it was literally a total joke. It was just like me posting like random, I loved photo and video, and I wanted to be a photojournalist in school. So I studied environmental science, and that was kind of the route, like, the Vice, like that kind of route was like where I thought I wanted to go. But basically, like, to be honest with you, kind of got like, blinded by the money, if you will. Like I saw this money and like opportunity, and like I felt like the right thing to do after school was to go, get the job, get the career, and the whole thing. Anyways, I had been doing like these photos as like, kind of a joke, and then had this like Instagram, and then basically on a road trip from LA to Big Sur for just like camping one summer, Dakota and I had like thought of the, little name Gnarwhal with a G. So it's like gnarly. And then it started to kind of like, like that was literally how it happened. We were like, Narwhals are kind of gnarly. And we're like,
That's the most California statement I've heard, but it's true. Exactly. They are, dude. They're gnarly.
Yeah, it is the most California thing you could possibly come up with. But and then I just really didn't want to be like another like kid from LA that started like a clothing brand with like limited merch drops. And,
limited coffee drops, man. I think that could play. Let's not.
Exactly. Yeah, it's coming actually. That's something Zach and I have discussed a lot. But yeah, so there's like that is like the kind of brain barf of it. So then on this year where I traveled, I was like alone for most of the year, right? Like I'm like living in all these places like isolated, but it was the best thing for my creativity and best thing for like just me personally to kind of get out of my comfort zone. I'm very much like a people person. I love to talk. Like I'm very social. So being like alone in that, like I wasn't living with any of like any roommates, and also like I didn't really know anybody in the cities that I was in. Um, really helped me because I basically was just like the full time just like soul searching and building this brand, and
Yeah.
so that's where the groundwork like was laid, and then after that it was it's just taking the leap.
Yeah. Well, it's funny for the viewers. It's funny we met in person and we kind of hit it off, but it was you and you're talking about your team, but your buddy Zach and then Dakota, who's now your fiance. So congrats to that. But it's funny we're both extroverted, and so there's like five people. Also, Allie from the market team and Felix from the market team, and me and you were just chatting. Because we were just like, oh, this guy, this story is epic. You got to show people the narwhal tattoo, by the way.
Oh yeah,
What's
so
oh
that's
yeah.
the narwhal tattoo.
In case you
um
didn't know what a narwhal, that's what it looks like.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it's real.
yeah.
I think we still blow people's minds with that, and narwhal actually does exist. um so I got this tattoo on a trip to Bali, and it's like a dancing skeleton. I just liked like the artwork, and kind of like homage to like Grateful Dead, Social Distortion, like that kind of like weird like punk side, rock side of me. And
Totally.
the tattoo artist was this really dope Russian tattoo artist, female. She was amazing, and she had been like practicing in Bali for quite some time. And I was telling her about Narwhal because that Bali trip was after that year of work, kind of like in between um, like the launch of Narwhal and finishing that year of traveling for work. And so I was telling her about it, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, she's like, you need to meet my friend in Los Angeles. She's like an illustrator. She's really talented. I think she could take like the logo that you're thinking about and like professionalize it and kind of like put like a real um, good artistic touch on it. So I followed through on that, hit her up. She ended up being the artist that did all of her name's Alina Sherbakova. She's here in LA at
That's awesome. Yeah, I was
OLINEVOD
about to
on
say
Instagram.
say that three times. I
Yeah,
thought my name was
yeah,
my full name was
yeah.
crazy, but
Alina Sherbakova.
that's an
Yeah, but
awesome name.
she's super dope. So she did all of like our logos, and then turns out her husband is a pretty well known tattoo artist in LA. So I said if we made it a year, I'd get the narwhal tattoo by him. So the full circle of it
That's
was like
amazing.
I met the person that did my logo in Bali, and then her husband back in LA did my tattoo. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's kind of the story on the tattoo and how that came to be.
That's epic. I think that we're all gonna have to get the Marco team to get tattoos if we get to a series when we get to a series A. So maybe that'll. Allie's
Yeah.
like, please don't let us make us do that. But yeah, I mean, look, I'd love to talk a little bit about who's the crew, right? Who's the team? I met
Yeah.
Zach and I guess Dakota's by as a function of being your fiance is part of the crew as well.
Yeah.
But
That's it. So
yeah,
I
no, but
mean,
like who's Zach? Like, how, I mean, how do you know
yeah.
him? I mean,
So I mean, so we're wow. There's a lot kind of actually here now that I say that's it. But so I met Zach through like mutual friends, and yeah, we just basically same thing as you and I. Like we hit it off right away. We were talking. He has a small marketing agency, so at the time, um, they're really good at what they do. They do email and SMS, but at that time they were also doing Facebook ads. Running like different social media ads, and then also some light, like website redevelopment or like rebranding and restructuring to kind of optimize. And we were in like desperate need of that because pre-pandemic we were very heavily leveraged in the office side of the business. So Zach basically like I met him at this dinner, and then he came on as like a vendor of ours. He was more or less like redesigned our website, worked with me on costs because like we up to this point have been self-funded the entire journey, and at that point it was just me. So he really like you could tell he was like down for the cause. He understood like where we were at and the potential of where we were going, and that meant a lot to me because up to that point I had been in a partnership with two people that were no slack on them. Like they're great people, but they didn't really understand like the e-commerce side of the business and the opportunity on e-commerce coffee. And then also, had their own business that they were very interested in. And so it was like a multitude of factors where Zach was the exact opposite. He totally understood like my direction, my branding, and then also the opportunity that we had. So since then, like basically has taken like the digital marketing completely off my plate. I don't really have to worry about, and really analytics too. Like he does a lot of analytics for us. So things like lifetime value of our customers that we weren't tracking very accurately, if at all. All of that stuff, and really optimized it. And then beyond that, just like a good friend, like kind of like I've noticed with like the Marco team, like a lot of you guys like hang out on the weekends and stuff, and do stuff together. And I think that that's like another important element. Zach is very much like me. He has the same interests as me. We snowboard together. We surf together. Like whatever outdoor activity we can do, and it creates for a really cohesive mesh. And at the same time too, he's able to still be very present and working full time with his agency. It's been like that's been a blessing, and really cool, just like weird synchronicity of how we met. And then Dakota, my fiance, soon to be wife, like we're 2 weeks away from getting married, which is pretty cool.
Amazing.
Yeah. So Dakota is kind of just like, so some background, we're going to be doing some fundraising right now. We just like sent out the version 1 of our deck to some friends and family, and trusted people that we want to bring on as like strategic partners. And so now that that's circulating, the role that we want to push Dakota into right now, she's really just doing pretty much everything finance. So she's a CPA, an accountant, and so she keeps our books clean, but then also like helps us with taxes, quarterly taxes, making sure that our accounting softwares are up to date and optimized for what we're doing. But as we kind of make this transition and start to formalize the structure of Gnarwhal, we're going to actually push her into more of an operations role. So she's extremely meticulous and very organized, and so I want her to be COO of like the whole operation and kind of take some of the processes and things that are really tribal knowledge right now and kind of live in my head and formalize them, put them onto paper, and be able to help us train some of the people that are helping us out right now, part-time on fulfillment and whatnot. So
it's like, Nick, what do you look for in a senior other? It's like, well, she's got to have a CPA, she's got to know finance, she's got to be able to run the ops, and then I got to like her too.
Exactly. That's that's basically it. So background on that, Dakota and I have been dating actually for a really long time, so 7 years. So like we pretty much were like first love sort of situation that just really worked, and never looked back. So she like knows Gnarwhal better than like anyone else. So when you think about things, like she's very creative and she's got like so much more than just finance. But when I was thinking about like what is a good role, it just didn't feel right to just put like finance on her, because like she has seen every step of the journey from like pre-launch to where we're at today from such an intimate level that it's like it really makes more sense for her to have her hands around the operation, because she can translate some of the things that are in my head. And you as like a founder and someone running the show, like you can understand there are a lot of things that are sometimes difficult to take from your brain and turn into a process without help. I mean, there's just like, frankly, like for example, like something like an unboxing experience is super important for an e-commerce brand.
Totally.
I haven't really paid attention to it much, and I have all these like really cool ideas, but it's just because like we're keeping the head above water, and so many weeks we're just trying to like get everything done that I haven't like actually just gone out and committed to some of the vendors that have already set up things for us. It's like someone to see that through and kind of take those ideas and formalize it. And then other than that, like the only other people like on the team that I would say are really like so we do like contract manufacturing basically at this point. So so that we can get like our USDA organic certification. So I'll work on a recipe and then I'll partner up with a manufacturer, and that's kind of like how the operation goes. So yeah, I have like personal relationships with the people that are brewing our cold brew and are roasting our coffee, like friends, like I text them every week. So um, yeah, that's basically like the full Gnarwhal world in terms.
Dude, so you talk about contract manufacturers and coffee. Let's talk
Yeah,
about coffee.
yeah.
So I'm actually drinking coffee right now. I'm drinking Gnarwhal coffee, and
Which row?
so this is the light. This is the light roast, tropical fruit, citrus, cacao. Our light roast is for the specialty coffee lovers and those who prefer a little extra jump start to their day. This roast yields a bold, sweet cup that is clean tasting and mild acidity. What is so like? Tell us like what kind of coffee do you offer? You got the beans, whole beans. This light roast. Like what else do you guys brew?
Yeah, so all of our coffee is Peruvian origin. So it all comes from one co-op in like the northern region of Peru, kind of almost on the border of Ecuador.
Okay.
And yeah, we literally just offer a light, medium, and dark roast, and that's kind of our brand differentiator. We don't put a fancy name on it, and then like we put some of the more nuanced tasting notes, and then we put that description that you just read on each of the roasts. Where, like,
Yep.
hey, this is super simple for you to understand. If you're a specialty coffee lover, you like it a little brighter, fruitier, this is going to be for you. And then you go like on the opposite side of the spectrum, on like a dark roast. Our dark roast description's like, if you like cream and sugar in your coffee, or you want it to taste like, you're camping and it's got a little bit of, soot at the bottom of your cup, like this is for you. And so that's kind of like stripping that nuance off of the specialty coffee,
Yeah.
still offering that highest grade USDA organic, all of like the things we should be consuming in like a good cup of coffee, but then taking off the things that are difficult to understand and just making it very presentable and palatable for the consumer, both in taste and in like emotionally how you experience it.
Well, it tastes pretty good, man. It tastes pretty good. And what's the but you guys make a mean cold brew as well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So the cold brew is probably our biggest like from a brand perspective, that's definitely our biggest SKU. And then also like from the perspective of like growth opportunity, it's also like our most important product right now. We have 2 flavors that are going to be coming out this summer that are super exciting. But the cold brew itself, like at the core of it, the black cold brew that is on the market right now is called the Arctic Cold Brew. And that is a low acidic, super, super smooth tasting, lighter roasted coffee. So it's got the same amount of caffeine that you come to expect in like those super bold, bitter cold brews. But the taste is going to be more similar to an iced coffee. And the reason we did that is because I felt like most consumers like wanted it to taste like an iced coffee, a lot more drinkable and approachable. Again, same kind of, theme here is just easier to drink, easier to understand. And so now, with that, we're taking that same black coffee and then adding things like, different sugar alternatives and milk alternatives and making some very innovative recipes. And when you talk about like the growth opportunity of Gnarwhal, it's going to be in that canned cold brew primarily. Another reason is because like when it comes to the retail world, we don't offer the coffee beans.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So,
you got to go DTC. I was going to say, can you spill the beans about your 2 flavors? But I said it anyways, but it's pretty bad.
Yeah, I will.
But,
I will. I'm not really worried about, imitation is the best form of flattery. So if jocks it, like so be it. But the first flavor that's coming out is going to be like towards the end of July. It's called the Baja Brew. And it's going to be an horchata cold brew latte. So we basically took an horchata and we mixed it with cold brew. And it's pretty unbelievable. We've been kind of testing it at a market here in Venice. Yeah, it's super good. It's nitro, but instead of rice milk, we use oat milk. And instead of like processed sugar, we use pure maple syrup. And the whole serving is less than 50 calories and less than 5 grams of sugar. So
that's what, and you guys already offer that at the market, right?
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, you've kind of like
we've dripped
a moose bouche, people have gotten a little taste of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of that too has been helpful for like R&D purposes. But yeah. So the thing with the crux of that right now is getting it to be shelf stable at ambient temperature, which means like it won't spoil when it's just sitting in like not in a refrigerator, so that we can ship it in the mail.
Yeah.
and we don't have to worry about any like product liability. So that's been like the difficult part of that, because it's either like 10,000 unit minimums or really expensive equipment. So we've been kind of like
Gotcha.
playing that game. The third flavor that's going to be coming out probably closer to the end of summer, but will be in retail stores first, is a coconut mocha. It's going to be called the Bonsai Brew.
Oh, that sounds epic.
Yeah, and it's
The
actually,
bonsai brew.
yeah,
Love it.
yeah, named after Pipeline. In my opinion, the mecca of surfing. Um, and yeah, so that one's going to be coconut water cold brew with raw cacao.
I can't wait.
Yeah,
So you mentioned surfing. One thing, I mean, we talk about ourselves as like a community-driven experiences platform, and I think that I'm pretty sure you guys talk about like a coffee community, and I'd love to hear a little bit about how you build like this community of coffee lovers, but also outdoor adventures. You know, you've
yeah.
got a whole bunch of people that love Narwhal, and you know, you talked about snowboarding, you talked about surfing, right? Like, how does that fit in with kind of like the coffee story?
Yeah, so the Co in Narwhal Coffee Co actually stands for community. So that's how we're registered as a LLC with the state. So community is definitely like at the center of what we're doing. So when it comes to the action sports, or outdoor sports, however you want to categorize it, that's just something that personally like has been really important in my journey. I like grew up, and basically like from the time that I could run, it was like every sport, every season, nonstop. Like I never like fully just anytime, like, football season's over, basketball season starts, basketball season's over, baseball season starts, running track at the same time, trying soccer, So as like you start to get to that point where it's like I'm not going pro in any of those things, which for me was like my sophomore year of college, I started to get really obsessed with outdoor sports, things that I could take with me a bit longer, and kind of you're competing more with yourself. And so,
By the way, that's like my mom with chess and like all the nerdiest stuff
yeah,
ever. It's like I've been like doing sports, and I'm like, yeah, man, mom, come on, but it's
yeah.
all good.
Yeah, I mean, well, like my family is like like the most competitive family you will ever meet. Like I just had my bachelor party last weekend, and we were staying at this house that had like a volleyball court, a pool table, ping pong, like little mini basketball, the arcade basketball game. And like legitimately
Totally.
me and my two brother-in-laws and my brother, it was like we all we did was play sports for like 3 days. And like
Sounds like a healthy bachelor party, man.
well, I mean, there was definitely drinking involved as well, but it was like hilarious because my friends are like, like just chilling by the pool and like this stuff, and like occasionally like jumping in, but then like we're just like dripping sweat and like literally so happy. Like, so that's like my influences growing up was like, it was nonstop. So, anyways, when it came to like the community of Narwhal, it was like action sports were really important to me, and incorporating outdoor sports was really important to me because, to be honest with you, I just wanted to mix what I love to do with what I'm doing for work. So I knew if like we positioned
Love it.
ourselves in that place, then like if I have to go shoot content, oh shoot, I have to go surf, I have to go on a trip up to Big Sur, or I have to go fly to Hawaii, and, it's like, so that is
That's
like,
epic.
we're not quite there yet on the Hawaii trips, but we're getting closer.
Well, dude, you got to invite me for the Hawaii trip.
Yeah,
I'll get some
well, we're
surf
going in
lessons done
November,
before, but
so
yeah,
we'll figure out.
I got plenty of time.
Yeah, yeah. So then, like, Dakota's brother actually has helped us a lot on like the marketing side of the business. So he was still in school when at University of San Diego when I launched Narwhal, and he had this like marketing class for social media. And at that point, we had like 2,000 followers, like barely, like like barely making any noise on like social media and stuff. And so I'm like, hey, if you have a project, like let me know. And he did. So I'm like, why don't you reach out to like as many like kind of medium size surfers, snowboarders, action sports, representatives, icons, like whoever we can like feasibly, I'm not going after like Zion Wright or people that are like,
Yeah.
like the top creme of the creme. I was going after like, people that are like, solid pros, really well respected, but not going to be like charge me an arm and a leg. And we just started getting like actual feedback through Aiden. They were like really stoked on like the branding and like that's when it started to occur to me that like Narwhal was a viable brand. And so we signed, well, we didn't really sign. I say sign, but we didn't really sign anyone because I don't really believe in contracts at this stage since I'm not going to be able to pay anyone a significant amount of money yet. Um, but we brought on Brett Barley as our first rep, and he's a very well-respected professional surfer out of North Carolina. And then it just kind of like snowballed after that. Like once we kind of had his stamp of approval, he's just like a great human being and like very well-respected in the surf industry. Then it started to like make the conversation, the intro conversation, a bit easier. People were a bit more familiar with who we were. And then from there, it kind of like snowballed. And now I've kind of taken back a little bit and like we're doing this fundraising. So I want to make sure I'm a lot more deliberate and slower to make decisions on who we add to the team next. But we have a team of 8 people now, all pros across skating, snowboarding, even just like cultural like ambassadors up in Seattle. This guy, Phil Lewis, who helped me put together a little like podcast thing, kind of like live stream that we do on the Gnarwhal Instagram that's kind of talks about like stewardship in the outdoors and, you know, inclusion in the outdoors. So he's kind of like a cultural, creative, you know, and so, yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of the brand. It's literally like 3 pages in our pitch deck are about like artists, you know,
really?
creative. Yeah. There's like 3 full slides of a 15 deck slide that are about like this specific thing because, you know, with a budget, which has been very small up to this point. But with a budget, you know, the plan is to start to put together more in-depth films and then start pushing those as a means of, you know, PR and growing the brand in a different way than just like traditional social media. So, yeah, super important to us.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I love it. I love it. It's similar to June Shine, which you guys, you obviously know those guys, which it's like coffee and outdoors. You know, you don't necessarily have to think of those immediately, but they make sense. And with that, so I want to jump into lightning round. And so, first question. These are kind of silly questions, but I think they're gonna hit home. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here, right? Yeah. So you say make everyone a morning person with Gnarwhal, right? What do you have against night owls, right? Like, what's the
nothing?
What's the hatred there?
It's just not me. That's it.
Big
not who I am. Like you can ask any of my closest friends. It's like 10 o'clock comes around and I'm starting to like slow down.
On that, okay, night owls, espresso martinis, yes or no?
Yay.
Yeah. All right, that's good. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. What's the worst coffee you've ever had?
Oh, I know. Okay, so
I stumped him. I stumped you.
You did. I had to think about that. But we were in the south of China, Dakota and I, and we were traveling in this really like the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life. It's this province called Lijiang, and basically we like got done with this hike, and I made the mistake of not getting tea, and I ordered a coffee, and it was like the worst cup of coffee I've ever had in my life. It was
so beautiful, most beautiful place ever, in the worst coffee.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
Shanghai
totally
versus
like
Minneapolis.
It was a
we
product of like this being the only food and beverage stand in like this whole national park, and I had to get a coffee there, like an idiot. Like Dakota had this tea that was like insanely good, and like
you messed up, man. How do you drink coffee? What's your cold brew guy?
Dude, I drink
light roast guy.
Sometimes I put cream in it. Sometimes I do like maple syrup and cream. Sometimes I do just black. Sometimes I like make literal like sludge, espresso.
I don't know what that means, but I gotta find out.
Like I'm just like a shit ton of coffee with like a little bit of water.
Yeah.
I'll do. Lately, I've been doing like a pour over in the morning, and then like a cold brew in the afternoon. That's kind of my go-to.
What do narwhals drink coffee?
I don't think they do, but I think they would if they saw my coffee.
Yeah. And last one. What do you drink outside of coffee?
What is my?
Not. It sounds like you drink like 17 times. Like, what's your drink of choice outside of coffee?
Oh, good question.
He's like, bro, did you hear me? I drink 17 types of coffee and that's it. Yeah.
Honestly, I'm a margarita guy. Like I kind of I like
Wow.
yeah.
Okay. All right. There we go.
Or like a
All right.
Negroni, but I've been like doing more of like a mezcal Negroni, which sorry to
All right. That's a good answer. We
my
had a few cocktails together, so I know
yeah
you drink outside of coffee.
yeah
Hey
I'm a
man,
margarita
look,
guy. Like tequila is my kind of my jam.
dude, that is my downfall, tequila, but in a good way. Look, man. Well, so look, we're gonna end this. It's a Friday afternoon. We're gonna go
Yeah,
get a margarita tonight. I think is what we're gonna do. But thank you
very
so
fun.
much for hopping on Marco Labs second episode coming at you hot. And cheers, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you.